Come out with me tonight.
Dr. Gray? I'm sorry. Say that. Everything you just said, say again.
You can talk to you about Brittany. I think you know her as Betty.
We're her parents. I can't believe this is real.
I'm gonna lose him.
First off, I really want to apologize for my lack of Grey's Anatomy content. I normally try to get 3 videos out per episode, but I just lost track of time the last couple days. And so for episode 12, we're going to do the review in the trailer review for episode 13. But don't worry, episode 13 will get its own review. I'm excited for episode 13 because I thought the trailer was really well constructed. It was a lot more well cut than the trailer for episode 12. And I had said in my trailer review of episode 12 that I think it's going to be a fantastic episode, but the trailer kind of sunk. And I was correct. The trailer was bad, but the episode was fantastic. We had a lot of storylines, which the trailer did not show. And the episode was very fluid, even though it had a lot of time jumps. And that's sometimes really difficult for a show to do, to skip around because you're kind of wondering what's happening in between. But with Grey's Anatomy, because it is supposed to be, you know, relatively realistic, it was perfect. It flowed. It honestly made a lot of sense with how these characters were reacting to the situations that were pertaining in their lives. So we had several A storylines and several B storylines. So the 3 B storylines were more or less for Alex and Joe. They were just kind of like bopping around. Like their most important thing was the New Year's Eve party that they hosted. Then we have Teddy and Karasik, and then we had Catherine recovering. And Catherine's storyline really took over Maggie, Jackson, and Richard. But the A storylines of this episode will be Bailey and Ben, Meredith and DeLuca and Link and their love triangle, and Owen and Amelia dealing with the whole Brittany, now Betty situation. So as opposed to going scene by scene, like the way I normally do it is I would construct, because this episode is so fluid, it would make sense to go, you know, what happened Valentine's, what happened on Christmas, what happened on New Year's, what happened on Valentine's Day. I'm just going to go by the storylines because I think there's just so much to discuss, and I think they're all really, really interesting. And this episode, I think, has massive repeat value. I've watched it 3 times now. It's a really, really good episode. So, Bailey and Ben. Miranda is struggling with depression and OCD and just constant fear and massive anxiety. She's extremely anxious all the time. And if you have not seen One Day at a Time, it is a fantastic comedy on Netflix. And the main character, Lupita, deals with anxiety and depression. She's a veteran from the Iraq War, or the Afghan War. And I have to say, I really liked how her depression and anxiety storyline was written. And it's a comedy, but it ties in really well. In Grey's Anatomy, you know, it is a drama, but the way that Bailey deals with it is so perfect. And Chandra Wilson just, you really think that she's sick, that she's feeling these crazy emotions, because like even her voice acting is perfect. So essentially, she wants to get back with Ben. She put her marriage on pause, and Ben eventually comes back. And you know, the way it worked out from Christmas to Valentine's Day was perfect. He built her a treehouse, and then it was resolved, and now they're back together, which is great. They're a really strong couple. They have a lot of development. I like Jason George. I think he's a really good actor. Though one thing that I will say that scared me was during the trailer. It was the episode 10 trailer, but it included 10, 11, and 12. There was a scene where Jason George goes, "You broke my heart," and I was like, you're a much better actor than that. There has to be a better cut, and there clearly was, because it was used in the episode. So it was Bailey and Ben struggling to get back together, rekindle their marriage, and that was a really, really well-constructed, beautiful storyline. We'll talk about Meredith, DeLuca, and Link at the end, because that's like the massive A storyline. So then we have Owen and Amelia dealing with Betty. Now, I had said, not in many of my reviews of season 15, but prior to reviewing season 15, I had said to my friends who watch Grey's Anatomy that keeping Betty around is a bad idea. And I understand why Amelia is doing it, but it causes more drama. And for a show like Grey's Anatomy, it makes total sense to have the drama. But, I mean, this is a major kick for these characters. Now, what we find out is Betty has been lying. Her parents don't know about Leo. She ran away, and that Owen could very much lose Leo. And if Owen and Amelia more or less went against their characters, which would be to let Betty stay in the system or not even bother to deal with her, this would never come up, and this wouldn't even be an issue if they didn't get so involved with Betty. And that's partly Owen's fault and partly Amelia's fault. Owen for staying with Amelia, and Amelia for being right on top of it with Betty. And I just think that was ridiculous. But for the character development of Amelia, it made sense to focus on her and Betty. But now, there's a massive issue, and I really like this story that's coming up. I wish it wasn't happening because I just like Owen and Leo. I think they're just, like, Owen in the trailer blatantly said, he's my son. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the trailer in a few minutes. But I really just wished that that poor Amelia and Betty just were separate, like this whole, and Owen would be dealing with the struggle. But I liked how it came out. I thought it was very fluid. And now I believe the New Year's, this went happened around New Year's when this came out, or a couple days after. So now they're in a lot of trouble. So now let's talk about the B storylines. I had said earlier that Alex and Joe were just kind of there, and their main thing is setting up the New Year's storyline, which more or less sets off DeLuca and Link. And then we have Teddy and Karasik for the B storyline. They're just getting together. Owen is kind of involved in the B storyline, and I thought that was fine. I mean, it makes sense. He's supposed to be involved in his daughter's life. Teddy's having a girl. But I really do like Greg German and Kim Raver quite a bit. I think like they fit, their acting skills bounce off each other really well. And overall, I was really happy with it. So at the end of the episode, like, Teddy and Karasik were on a date for Valentine's Day. I thought that was cute. Like, I'm curious to see more Owen and Teddy. I'm sorry, Teddy, Owen, and Karasik together, because I think Owen's just not going to like Karasik. Then we have Catherine recovering, and she did have massive invasive surgery. And then we have Jackson and Maggie, like the C section of this storyline. So Catherine's storyline was more or less the B, and then we have Jackson and Maggie in the background, kind of dealing with it as well. And it made sense. I thought it was nice to see. I think Debbie Allen's a really good actress. I felt her pain. I liked how Jackson and Maggie were dealing with it. I thought Richard was great, but it was so small and so subtle that that doesn't deserve too much dissection. And then, throughout this whole episode, we have a patient named Natasha, and she was in an accident, and she was put into a coma, and essentially she dies at the end of the episode. But her recovery, or lack thereof, is the tying thing that connects all these patients to all these doctors together. And I really liked it at the end of the episode. Even though she died, they were able to do a wedding for Natasha and her husband, which I thought was really nice. And there's a scene where Natasha's husband, or at that point in time, her fiance was like, if she dies, I die. If she dies, I die. And Meredith tells him, it's not the end. Don't worry, you'll be fine. And that sets DeLuca off. And I really enjoyed that scene. The acting in every scene is just so good. Like, the Grey's Anatomy acting is probably one of the best acting sets of acting I've ever seen for television. It's just so well done. So the last thing to talk about is Meredith and DeLuca's love triangle. So in the beginning, Joe tells DeLuca Joe tells Meredith, that she's having a party, and then she invites DeLuca, then she invites Link, and she being Meredith, and then she stands them both up in order to take care of Natasha, and then Link and DeLuca are upset by this. And then towards the end of the episode around Valentine's Day, Meredith asks Link out, and she stands him up. We'll talk about why in a minute, because I really love the why. But, throughout the episode, after DeLuca got stood up by Meredith, he was mad for obvious reasons. And, he's really trying to show that he can handle her power, which is great, because in earlier seasons, he had issues handling a strong female character. He couldn't be around Maggie. So I really like the fact that he is willing to show that he's developed. And then finally, towards the end of the episode, he takes her upstairs after Natasha dies, and they do a toast to Natasha, and he kisses her. And the song that played, which was Say It Now by NILU, and she did a cover of How to Save a Life, which had played in the season finale of season 11. I thought that was fantastic. And that could also work with the Make Way song by Aloe Black. I'm not saying the songs would work together, but both those songs I think would work in the situation that occurred, which is DeLuca kissing Meredith. So now Mariluka is official, and I am very much a shipper of that. So I really did like that quite a bit. So overall, I thought the episode was beautiful. I thought it was really fluid. I liked the acting. I really liked everything that happened throughout it. I mean, there's so much going on in it that it was a lot to watch, and it definitely deserves several repeats. So I really did enjoy that episode. So now let's talk about the trailer. So I'll swap up the pics real quick. And what I liked about the trailer is it's cut perfectly because you have two complete storylines that are going to be more or less separate, I imagine, which I like. I like when the storylines don't need to intersect. And it talks about how Meredith and DeLuca's relationship is going to be, intensified. Well, Owen could lose Leo. And I talked about in the review part of this video that it's due to Amelia being so involved. But, he still is going to have a daughter at the end of the day. But, Leo is his son, and the possibility of losing him is really real because Leo has guardians. His grandparents are right there. And there's no reason for him to be in the foster system anymore, or to be with Leo, or for Owen to have Leo. So I'm really curious to see how the Owen and Leo storyline is going to develop out, because I think that's the more dramatic one, because now that the love triangle is all done, I really want to know how more of the drama aspects of the show will handle. And I believe that was it for a majority of Grey's Anatomy. Let me just double check one more thing for episode 13, because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So we have a sea of patients flood the hospital after a gunfire goes off at a parade. A blast from the past throws Maggie off her game on the same day that Meredith tries to talk about her dating DeLuca. Meanwhile, Owen and Amelia get some potentially life-altering news about Betty. So it seems that we have an additional big storyline with a sea of patients from a parade, and I'm curious to see how that will be dissected throughout this episode 2, because that's not in the trailer at all. That's a big, big disaster. I like when they have disasters like this, because it just adds to the tension of the drama. So I'm curious to see what's going to be going on there. This episode is directed by Kevin McKidd, but he seems to have quite a large involvement. But I think he's really figured out how to be both, to be able to do both roles simultaneously. Sometimes when you direct, you're in fewer scenes, and I think he'll be in enough of this episode to make it really impactful. So overall, I thought the trailer was really well cut. I like the fact that this. It's not including everything, but it's including more than one storyline, which is always helpful for a good trailer. And overall, I thought episode 12, Girlfriend in a Coma, was perfect. It was a beautiful, beautiful episode. So anyway, share your thoughts about the trailer in the comments below, and share your thoughts about the episode in the comments below. I'm sorry for a combined video, but it just had to be done for time's sake, and I will have a episode review and a trailer review tomorrow. And also, last thing, we are going to be getting Amy Acker, who is playing Derek's fourth sister and Amelia's sister, Kate, and she'll be on the show in the Amelia-centric episode, which is going to be towards the latter half of season 15B. I'm curious what you guys have to say about seeing another Shepherd sister. Do you think she'll be a doctor? I believe she will be. I believe that Derek's mom, way back when she was introduced, had said all of her children are doctors of some sort. And Amy Acker's best credit as of now is on The Gifted, a show I don't watch, but it's a really popular show on Fox. Or I believe it's either Fox or Hulu. The point is, I don't watch it, but it's very well received. So overall, I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about the trailer and the episode, and what do you think about Derek's sister coming, another sister coming, a Shepherd. So anyway, share your thoughts, and I'll talk soon. All right, guys.